Hi folks, I'm flying solo today, so we've got a fixed camera here and no one following us around. I've got here on the dyno an XSR900. This is a 2024 year BEA ECU, I believe it is. We've mapped one of these before, but I don't believe we put anything out there about it. So I thought I'd take the opportunity to do that with this one. So this one come to us with a stock exhaust. So we've had the time to put it on the dyno and run it up to see what she was making. Obviously I've had access to the ECU files as well, so I know what restrictions are in there. They're not as restrictive as previous sort of XSR900s or MT09 based ECUs in the throttles, but there is some, so we'll be taking that out. But we've done some base runs, which we're going to put up on the screen now.
This one is a 6-gear run, and that's restricted by the speed limiter and the ETV maps. This one is a 5th gear run, and although it revs out, you can see that you're starting to lose power at the top end. This is due to the ETVs closing.
So as you can see by those and what I was describing during it, we can see those restrictions. So we've gone ahead, taken it off the dyno, and we've gone and fitted a GPR full exhaust system. So we're going to be doing a comparison run with that GPR, just so you can see what the difference is, just literally straight, stock and GPR. Then we're going to go ahead and map it as we do. As usual, we're going to be using the Woolwich Racing software to enable us to map it. I'm going to show you a little bit around that, but again, it's fixed camera, so I'm going to have you look it over my shoulder, so please apologies for the video angle. It's the best I can do today. Hopefully it gives you an insight into these ECUs while we're mapping them. Obviously the GPR is available through the shop. I will put a link in the description, and you can go ahead, and if you want to treat your XSR to something nice and jazzy, maybe take a look at that one. We're going to do some picture comparisons at the end, actually, because to be fair, not just because we can't retail this, forget that, to be fair, I just think this looks so much better. The stock one sort of hangs underneath, and you'll see the shape of it when we show it later. And no, this one, at least it comes out the side. It just looks nicer. I mean, some people like that sort of stuff. Me, not so much. I like something you can see rather than it all being tucked under. So much so when I ran it, I'm sort of looking for the exhaust outlet to where I put our extractor, and they're right underneath. So not for me, to be fair, not for me at all. Anyway, let's go and have a look at the bike running. Your video will show it whilst we're mapping. So, you know, it's going to be a few wires everywhere. It's going to be my legs everywhere and all that kind of thing. But at least it gives us a chance to hear the GPR in action, which is fantastic. Then we'll take a look at the Woolwich interface and the sort of maps that we're going to be changing. And I've also got some data for you just to show how the bike is running in its current state. So basically modified with zero mapping on there. And then we'll have a look at the result. So let's get running.
So here we go, folks. Let's try and get you nice and close for this. Like I say, I'm flying solo, but do want to go through some things. So here we've got a BEA00 XSR ECU, and like previous models, it does come with a few restrictions. One of them is a speed limiter, and you'll see that on our dyno runs when we do a 5th gear pull, even a 4th gear pull, I believe, but definitely a 6th gear pull. Not that it has major effects on the road, but I personally find that, you know, if you're cruising along on a motorway and you're going for some throttle, where it is got some restrictions in it, you have to cog down to get a given acceleration. So at least without the speed restriction on there, you're able to just wind on and come back. That coupled with a throttle limit map. So this is one I've modified. So let me open a new one for you. and I'll show you exactly what I mean. So we're going to look at mode 1, same as in mode 2. So for instance, when we're looking at this 3D chart, if I bring it round here, you can see there that the throttles at the top are closing, and we can also see that in this numerical chart. If I bring this across here and down, you can see we've got the full throttle values closing down to 80%. I think that's just off screen there. So yeah, closing down to 80%. And it happens across the way, and that's all the way through. So that's gear 6, and gear 4 is the same, and power mode 2 is the same as well. So, you know, by de-restricting these throttles here, taking the speed limiter off, it makes for an overall nicer ride, if you ask me. It's not about speed on the road. There's speed limits for obvious reasons. Obviously, if you were to take this on the track, it would have an effect, but I think it just makes the bike overall more rideable. Got other things to look at as well. ETV limit on RPM. It's no good making a change to this if the limit map is going to restrict you. So we look through all of these things whilst mapping a bike, along with the obvious, which is the fueling, and also the ignition if we see fit. And Woolwich Racing provide us with a stock map here, so we're able to use this stock map and through experience and testing, modify it accordingly. So as you can see here, rather suboptimal. And here, so the bike here, you can clearly see where it's more than likely going to be the closed loop area. Most of these values are probably around what the manufacturer was trying to target. 14.7, 14.7, 14.8, so you can see what's going on. A few little creeps into the 15, but we'll filter through this data anyway. But this really is happening in a rev range and a throttle position where you're just going to be picking up that throttle coming off a corner or through traffic, and that is not going to make the bike feel nice, especially considering obviously, you know, you've gone to that trouble of buying the bike, paying for it, it's not cheap, an exhaust system, all that kind of stuff, only for it not to run right. And we can see here that it won't be running to its optimum. So we're going to get this flashed into the ECU, go through that process again. We've also got the IAP maps. We'll look at those as well, and we'll go through, filter out the data. A little bit of sorting to do. This is just a data gathering exercise, and then we'll get this into the ECU.
A few moments later.
And there we have it. We have a mapped bike. You can see there with all the various overlays, ultimately there is a clear winner and the top line. And at 100% throttle, we have shown here that we can make more power, hang on to that power for longer. The key obviously was doing this exercise throughout the rev range, as you have seen in previous clips. But there we go. There's all your comparison runs. And I think you'll agree, looking at this system compared to this thing, makes the bike look $1 million. And the fact as well, I didn't bring any scales, but this has got to be what? This is a good 4 or 5 kilos worth. And that stainless system weighs next to bugger all. But there we go. So removal of the heavy old XSR system, fitting this nice, sleek GPR, and you've seen the results. If you've got any questions, pop it in the comment section.